NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst you legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight. Hey gang, so I got a new book out. It's called The Upside of Fear, and it's exactly what you think it's about. It's about the good side of, well, getting scared. In it, we talk not only about the science and biology behind fear, but the psychology as well. And it's not just coming from me, it's coming from some of the best in the sport. Omar Alhigelan, Jeff Provenzano, Maxine Tate, and so many more have contributed their sometimes terrifying stories to the book to help you overcome your fear. So head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com. You're going to find the link to the book there, as well as the other books. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook right now.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, and a new friend that comes to us straight from my good friend Olga. Let's get straight into it. Who the fuck are you, and what do you do?
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Gonçalo Resende. That's how you pronounce it. I know a lot of people have trouble. I'm a 23-year-old skydiver and base jumper. I'm from Portugal. I jump mostly in Portugal, and I like to compete in canopy piloting and teach as well, of course. I like to compete and teach in free fly. I like to test wingsuits and fly them. I like to base jump off of pretty much anything. I'm crazy about rigging, crazy about camera flying, and just love skydiving in general and everything that has to do with deflecting air, basically. Everything that has to do with moving air, using fluid dynamics I just love it.
I was going to say that with that resume, it's pretty apparent that you are all in on air sports.
Yeah, it's been my life. Like, it's not all that I know, but it's been literally the main focus of my life since I can remember. So it's no surprise that I'm able to have some knowledge in some of the areas in skydiving, and it's something that I really, really love. So I've invested all my life into it, basically.
Well, I mean, to be up to the things that you're getting up to at 23, I mean, I'm going to age myself a little bit, but I didn't do my first jump until I was almost 27. So you've already got what some would consider a full career under your belt, and you're still years younger than I was when I made my first jump.
Yeah, I jumped quite a bunch since I'm young. I think saw something on one of the podcast descriptions when I was looking into the podcasts. I saw something along the lines of Jumper X had 150 skydives by the time they finished high school. I had like 1,000 something, 2,000 by the time I finished high school. I had a lot of jump. Yeah, I jumped a lot.
But it's funny, right? So, from your perspective, I'm sure that seems normal, but I'm guessing you have to know now that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, I still find it. I always knew like it was nuts. I always knew it from the get-go. It was crazy the amount of jumps that I had. So even to a point where the reason why I'm so OCD, and some people know this about myself, I'm super OCD with the videos and with my logging, is because I would predict like when I have 10,000 jumps, I'm going to be 20 something, and people are not going to believe me. They're going to be like 10,000 jumps at 25, whatever. It's not possible. And like, yeah, I have all the videos, like, and I do have literally every video from every single jump that I've ever made, ever, like
Right.
with a 99.99 percentage of accuracy. I have all the
Sure.
videos and all the logging.
Well, I mean, that's not a bad plan though, because I mean, fuck, I'm 55 and people, non-jumpers mostly will ask, so how many jumps do you have? And you say, 11,000 something, and they're like, fuck you, no, you don't. And I'm 55. You're
Yeah.
23 for fuck's sake.
I knew that for sure, and I prepared myself for it. But again, I think all of my life, all of my childhood was a great starting point for me to have so many jumps at such a young age. And I'm sure we'll get to the topic where I speak about my upbringing in skydiving, so I can try to run you through if
Yeah,
that's
please, man. Actually,
appropriate.
that's the
Yeah.
perfect segue. I mean, how did this all start? Because, I mean, especially coming from the States, there are no kid jumpers,
Yeah.
at least not legally. So how did this all happen for you?
So um everybody has a story of how they found out about skydiving. Everybody has their own little story. I don't have that because I didn't find out about skydiving. Like I know skydiving exists and I just was born into it. Like here, this is something that exists. Just live your life parallel to it and enjoy. So when I was like I don't know, 3 years old, something like that. Maybe a little bit younger than that. My dad did his AFF, his skydiving course. I don't know why. That I was thinking about that actually a few days ago. I have no idea why he decided to jump, but he did. And he was an entrepreneur, a businessman. He had a lot of different businesses he pursued, and that's how actually he met my mom. He owned a fruit transport company, a big one, and my mom owned a bunch of butcheries. So that's how they met. Because in Portugal, it's very common for butcheries to sell fruit as well. And so because my dad always had this pursuit of chasing businesses that he loved, not only because of the money, but also because of the actual activity. He loved motorcycle racing, car racing, karting racing, and eventually he found out about skydiving. And some of my dad's friends have told me, like, when he started skydiving, he was like, "This is it for me. This is what I really, really love. Like, I've tried everything, and this is what I like." So
Mm.
he pursued a career in skydiving, and being my dad, he saw that in Portugal, the skydiving clubs were like a bunch of Cessna 182s jumping on the weekends, very old school way. And he was like, "No, this has got to change." So he took all the money he could gather from a little bit of the fruit, like the fruit business. My grandparents were immigrants in Venezuela, so they had some money when they came back with him when he was a kid. So there was a little bit of money to collect here and there and such and such. And with all the money we were able to collect, my family was able to collect. We bought the first like rigs and started operating in skydiving in a drop zone that's in the center of the country with a rented plane. And the way we presented the business at the time, I was a kid, of course, I remember, but I wasn't involved, was to make it profitable and luckily it was profitable for my father, and my mom continued her cutting meat business, but that's what she liked. Shortly after, the money was enough to buy the first turbine plane in Portugal. So the first plane with a turbine for skydiving was a Caravan, our Caravan. It's right there. I'm looking at it right now. We have two now, but at the time it was a big investment for us. And I remember going, my dad showing me the pictures of the various options, because it came down to the colors at the time. The Caravan wasn't super popular, so it was like, it's now you see one for sale, you're like, oh my god, a Caravan. But back then it's like, yeah, which one do you think is better? This one. And so yeah, we got the Caravan, and that's just what I did when I was younger. I would be, when I had school during the winter, I would be in school, and I would be in a butchery after school. And then I would go every weekend with my mom and my dad to the drop zone. We would drive a few hours and be at the drop zone doing tandems. It was clubs at the time, skydiving clubs. And since you're in Europe, you're completely aware of how that worked back in the day. It's not as easy anymore to have a club and operate in some of the Nordic countries. I know you guys still maybe do that, but in Europe, Western Europe, it's not happening anymore. You have to have a company.
Sure.
So I was just hanging out at the drop zone every single day, sleeping in parachutes, and there was also maintenance facilities in the airfield. I would go there, and I would just stay hours and hours on end looking at the planes being disassembled and assembled. I would climb up on the maintenance platforms and just stay there. I would fall asleep there and get lost for hours, and people wouldn't know where I was. It was a problem. And same thing with parachutes. I remember I was really, really young, and I loved parachutes. I loved the whole skydiving operation. That's what I loved. I didn't care so much about flying, about jumping. I loved the operation, the logistics. So like when I would play as a kid, it was Legos, and I would make them as efficient as possible and fitting as many people as possible in a plane to try to turn loads. I would remove their arms to fit more people in a row. I swear. It was crazy, because that's what I loved. I didn't play like, oh, I'm flying. No, I wanna turn loads. I wanna make money. It was
Sound
weird,
like a
but
DZO.
yeah, I mean, it's the son of a DZO, and it's what I saw my parents do. So I guess a lot of kids try to run away from what their parents are doing, and I never felt that. Also, because I was never pressured. I just naturally wanted to copy my dad and be like him, and
Well,
do
I
what
was
he
gonna
was doing.
ask, because I mean, growing up, my dad was a golfer, and so I grew up fucking hating golf because he was really passionate about it, and it just wasn't my thing. And I always ask the kids of skydivers that have grown up around the drop zone, was it something that you pushed back on initially because it's what your parents did? But it doesn't sound
I've
like you
thought
did
about
at all.
I thought about that a lot, actually. And when I was younger, really, really young, like one of the earliest memories I have was my dad taking me to drive a kart, because he loved kart racing as well. He was already skydiving at this time, but not professionally. And I remember I hated it. Like it was vibrating in my hands, and didn't like it at all. And that he was pushing me to do it, and I didn't like it because he was pushing me to do it. And I guess he thought like, okay, skydiving is serious. Like I'm actually making money with skydiving. We're making a company. Like I cannot have my children not like this, because they're going to be, they might be an important part of this. And if they can continue this business, it's going to be beneficial rather than starting a new business in some other area. So I think he was really smart, and he never, ever, ever pushed me to do a tandem, to jump. Like the tandems at the time, you could do a tandem with a kid when they're 5 years old, 3 years old, doesn't matter. In Portugal, the law was there was no law. You fit in the harness, you jump. I was always a small kid. Now I'm a little bigger and taller, but I was smaller than average. Um, and all of my friends, like peers that were the same age, drop zone kids, they all did tandems when they were super, super young, 5 years old, 6 years old, and none of them skydive. Like they don't care. Like some of them have skydived, like they have a few hundred jumps, like 200, but nothing serious. Just weekend, one or two jumps, going home, and most of them don't even skydive. So I found it to be really interesting that I remember being 10, 12 years old and being like, oh, I'm the only one who didn't do a tandem yet. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. But then I thought, now I'm looking back, I'm like, I'm the only one jumping. Like, so I was never, ever pushed into skydiving. I was just there. They would drive me to the drop zone. I would do whatever I wanted. They didn't make me do anything. I could play. I could be a child just in a drop zone. No problem at all.
Sure.
My father passed away when I was like 9 years old, on a plane crash, unfortunately. And then we never stopped the operation. Of course, my mom was mourning for a few years, but we let some of the instructors of the drop zone handle the little work just to keep the company with the lights on, basically, while my mom was mourning and taking care of whatever needs to be taken care of when a person passes away. And there was some other skydiving companies in Portugal that took advantage of the situation to try to grow and to try to press us down and have their own growth. And of course, you can never be tall by standing on someone else's shoulders. You know, you can never be tall by not by pressing someone down.
Sure.
There's a saying in Portuguese that's something like that. So of course, if you try to be tall by stepping on someone, it's never going to work. And
Sure.
and of course, it didn't work. We returned stronger than ever, and we ate up the competition for breakfast, basically. And now we've like since then we've flown normally every day, with
Was
no
there
slowing
was there
down.
I mean, obviously, that would have been a lot for your mother to deal with, especially because this was clearly something that your father started and she obviously supported, but that must have been a tough decision for her as well, because I would imagine, especially losing him in a plane crash, it would have been very, very easy for her to go, okay, that's the end of that. Let's sell everything worth it, and I'm just going to do my own thing. So, have you ever talked to her about what motivated her to push forward and keep the business?
Yeah, I have, and I think she likes it because it's not it's a little more. She tells me it's because we make a little more money, of course, a butchery. How, especially with the advent of supermarkets. I don't know how it is in the States or in Finland, but with the advent of supermarkets, and it's not as common to have a street butchery that you go to every day. You have to walk around. So it's not. She was gonna the business that she had, a butchery that she had up until recently, she only sold it like 1 year ago, less than a year ago.
Wow.
She terminated her business, and she didn't even sell it. She gave it to her sister to continue the business, because it was really, really successful. And the thing is, it's the same amount of effort, but you have less profit.
Hmm.
And my mom saw that with her amount of effort that she could have maybe triple the profit. It's not like, oh, skydiving is an easy job. You come in, you clock in and you clock out and you make a lot of money. No, that's not true. But if you put in the hours that you would being a butcher, which is a lot, it's pain, it's a pain. It's cold, it's early, it's all the bad things about a job. And then you go skydiving, you own a skydiving business, it's much easier.
Sure.
If you put in the same amount of effort and time, it's not problematic at all. And so we had the planes, and we continued with the skydiving operation. And luckily, my after my mom was done mourning, about 3-4 years after my dad's passing, she started dating a skydiver, the most experienced skydiver in Portugal. I guess she picked the right person. Like, let me get an experienced skydiver as my boyfriend, whatever. And she started dating the most experienced skydiver in Portugal in terms of gross jump numbers. My mentor, I can call him my dad. Also, he didn't raise me, but he was always a figure that was mentoring me along my skydiving journey. We still lived in the north of Portugal, like a few hours away from the drop zone, but we would come every weekend, and we'd operate first on the weekend, then Friday, weekend, and sometimes Monday. And eventually every day of the week we were allowed to have skydiving operation. Again, this was all limited due to authorities. It's not us that we don't have enough work and we only fly on the weekend.
Sure.
It was always the authorities limiting us. So when I was tall enough to pack a parachute, because again, like I said, I was a short person, I would probably be able to pack a parachute. I had the knowledge in my head from like 7, 8 years old. I knew what to do, but I couldn't. I was physically not big enough to pack a parachute. And of course, the small little parachutes that you can pack as a child, the people jumping them don't really want you to pack them like
Right.
now, do they? One of the first parachutes I packed, I was 11 years old, was a Comp Velocity. There was no Valkyries at the time. There was a Comp Velocity, and I asked someone to assemble the RDS for me, and they switched the rings, and then I packed it with the rings switched. And the person, of course, was my dad. He had a terrible malfunction, but didn't cut away. And of course, he was pissed at me, and I was like, it wasn't even my fault. Like the slider, I didn't assemble the slider. And so that was really funny. That was my first experience with someone jumping a pack job made by me.
Right.
Then I really wanted to pack parachutes. I wanted to learn to pack, but nobody wanted to teach me because people were like, it's already so hard to have a skydiving company in Portugal that if we have a kid packing, it can cause us some problems. So if it was maybe 20 years ago, it's fine. You put kids working, it doesn't matter. But in the 2010s, it's not as easy as it used to be, I guess.
Sure.
So I really wanted to pack parachutes, and I wanted to learn. So when I was 12 years old, I was finally able to pack a parachute by myself, and I started working as a packer when I had time. Every weekend, every summer, I would be packing parachutes at the drop zone, and I was the richest kid in middle school, obviously. Like my mom always didn't want to pay me because like, why do you need the money? And I'm like, I want the money. Pay. I worked. I need the money. And yeah, like making 120 euro per day on a weekend. It's a lot of
Oh,
money for a fucking
yeah.
12-year-old, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was able to
I,
give my yeah, sorry, yeah.
I was gonna say, it sounds to me like there was never a question in your mind that you were going into skydiving not just as a hobby, but this was going to be your life. It sounds like
I
there was
never, yeah, I
never a
think I
doubt.
never thought about it. I never thought like, oh, I'm gonna be skydiving. I knew I was gonna skydive. I didn't know how serious I was gonna skydive. Like all my childhood, I wanted to be a pilot, not a skydiver. I wanted to pilot because my dad was a pilot. My dad skydived, but he wasn't excelling in skydiving. He was just a normal skydiver. He was an instructor, examiner also. Um, he was accused of doing the tandem instructor rating too early by paying the person that was the instructor. So everybody was saying that in Portugal. And as a, I wouldn't say revenge, but like as a fuck you to everyone, he went to the land, did the examiner course, and came back and was like one of the two examiners in the whole of Portugal. Like it was really, really funny. I loved it so much. I love that attitude.
I think I
And
would have liked your dad a lot.
yeah, I'm a little bit like I thank God every day that I borrowed that from my dad because I'm exactly the same. It's like I can do it. Okay, let me do it even better then. But yeah, so afterwards because again my mom was mourning and she had a little bit of resentment into skydiving, even though she was still having the operation happen. Because again, my mom doesn't jump. My sister, they don't jump. They just manage, and they've done tandems, but they don't jump. And so I guess living with my mom, just the two of us, and it could be hard sometimes. I've never had any big problems with my mom, but I wanted everything to be okay with her. So she didn't really like the idea of me wanting to skydive for a living. So there was a phase where like, yeah, I might be a doctor because I was really good in school. I had really good grades. It was easy. It's not a problem at all. So I was like, maybe I'll be a doctor. I don't know. But when I went to start skydiving, like a few years actually before I started skydiving, like maybe 1 or 2 years, I decided like, no, I'm going to skydive. Like there's no question in my mind. I'm going to be skydiving. And I knew exactly what I wanted. I want to be a skydiver. I want to compete in world in canopy piloting. I want to be a world champion in canopy piloting. I want to be base jumping. I want to do nice things in base jumping. I want to develop canopies. I want to test canopies, and I want to do a lot of rigging and test work. I don't want to. I want to win once. Like I want to be a world champion once. That's enough. I don't care for flying fast. That doesn't matter to me. I like to build stuff and make stuff new. Even like I love cars. I have my car completely modified, 650 horsepower, which is more than twice the original power, all built by me. And I enjoy building it, but I don't really drive it that much. Of course I drive it, but my friends are like, if I had a car that powerful, I would drive it every day and just go racing every time. Like I don't care about that. I like to build a car. I like to have the performance, but I don't have the rush to go and do crazy fast things. I just do them just because, and even swooping, I enjoy swooping. I like to swoop fast and I like to win, but it's more because I know it's what I have to do to be recognized by the factories and hired to be a test pilot. This is why I compete mostly. It's not so much because I want to win. It doesn't really matter. And if you see my performances, it's like in speed, I win, and then I get less performance in other disciplines because I'm not focused in them now. Like I know I'll get to them eventually. When I'm really good in speed, I'll get to them. Now I'm according to some papers, I'm the best in the world in speed. So now I can focus on something else. And if I do that like by steps, I know I can be world champion. Once I'm world champion, I can be, hey guys, gyro, whatever. I want to test. I don't want to fly fast. I will compete, but not, whoa, I need to win. No, I just want to.
It sounds like a bit of that is you want to be able to tick that box off, not for anybody else, but for yourself. Okay, I've done this. Now it's time to move on.
That's it. And I already have the plan of what I'm going to compete in next in skydiving. Might be a wingsuit performance or might be artistic events as a camera flyer, because it's two things I want to do also. I like to test wingsuits. I like to test stuff. I don't know. I like to make new things. And I like to give feedback.
So now, I was gonna say when you started out packing at a young age. Did you take the normal jumping route and start shooting video as your first
Yeah, of
jumping
course,
side of
of
things?
course, of
So
course.
was that the normal progression? Did you go through with all the instructor stuff, or
Yeah, I did it even a lot bigger, the progression, I think. So, to continue the story, I started skydiving. I was in school and I had something that was really, really thankful, that I'm really, really thankful for while I was in high school, because I changed from my hometown, which is about 3 hours away, to the town of the drop zone. So I live 5 minutes from the drop zone.
Hmm,
And so I'm living here 1 year before I started skydiving. I came to live here permanently. And luckily, my grandfather, who passed away very recently, he gave me a motorcycle. It was a present from me. I didn't have to pay anything of that motorcycle. And normally I would work and pay for my own things. I like to do that. But he gave me, he says, "You want a motorcycle? I'm going to give you a motorcycle." My mom gave me the driving license, and I bought the gear and everything. So I had a motorcycle as a 16-year-old. So you can imagine I was the coolest 16-year-old in the world. Motorcycle, skydiver. It was so cool. It's just I'm weird. According to everyone, I'm really weird. So that was the only downside. Other than that, I was the coolest cat around.
sure.
So I would finish school, drive to the drop zone, jump. I would study also, studying, a
Yeah.
lot of studying. We got a lot of books, and I remember everything from high school because I was paying so much attention. No, but seriously, when I started skydiving, I did normal jumping progression, jumped out of a plane a bunch of times. Then I was allowed to wear a camera when after my first season. I did, because I started the season late. I started in September. My birthday is in October. Oh, sorry, I started in October. I started on my 16th birthday. Yeah, not a day before, and and uh, and
Did it come naturally to you?
I think I took a learning curve just as much as everybody else. Like, I fly good. I think I'm a solid flyer both in free fall and with my parachute, but I learned just like everybody else. I didn't
Sure.
magically be like, "Oh, I got this." No, no. I have videos of myself tumbling around trying to figure out how to fly, just like
Sure.
everybody else.
It's
And
funny because I mean I've had other kids of skydivers before, and I mean I've had both the Nelsons on and all the the folks from Paris Valley and all these people that are multi-generational skydivers. And as a jumper, you'd almost kind of just naturally assume they came out of the womb flying. So because you were in it for so long, I guess it automatically, because you already know so much about the sport, you just assume that that learning curve is going to be much flatter. But it's kind of nice to hear that it's not, because half of the time you just walk around as a normal jumper like me going, man, fuck those guys, they're just born so goddamn good.
uh, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. What I would say is, I never had anyone coaching me anything. Of course, my dad would jump with me a lot, and he would teach me whatever he knew. But he knew how to fly head down like this, and how
Delivering
to swoop.
pizzas.
Yeah, how to he was teaching me how to swoop, doing 360s and double two 360s. It's not what you do anymore. And I didn't have anyone teaching me not to fly like a pizza boy. I didn't have anyone teach me not to do the things that are bad habits, because my dad was competing in canopy piloting and free fly, but in the 2000s. So
Sure.
2005, 4, 6, 7, up until 2008. That's when my mentor, my dad, whatever, was competing. Faustino, that's his name. And so I never had coaching from anyone. Like, there's no one in my drop zone that's like top tier skydivers. Like the best free flyers in the drop zone will barely hold a sit fly, and there's no one swooping like a lot, like just swooping like big 90s and every
Sure.
big. And so, yeah, I wasn't born like flying, not at all. And I didn't do tunnel before. I did like 30 minutes of tunnel before my AFF, but it was mostly goofing around in the tunnel rather than actually learning to fly, just because that's what I wanted to do. And the only thing I can say is faster is that I knew what I was doing wrong because I've watched thousands and thousands of debriefs. So
Sure.
I didn't need to show, like, am I doing this right? No, I knew it was wrong, and I could work on it until I didn't know what was wrong anymore.
Sure.
So if I'm learning to sit fly, I know you couldn't be like leaning forwards like an idiot. I knew that, so I just needed to fix that. In head down, I knew, like, if you're a pizza boy, it doesn't work. So I knew what I needed to do to fly. Um, I knew some things I think people assumed I knew, because I knew so many things that it even was bad. So for instance, I'm gonna say something that's basically bashing my dad. I always knew everything. Every time he was teaching me something, I would know it already. He would
Right.
just slow my progression down. That's what he did, and that's of course good, because if you let a 16-year-old, 17-year-old just jump and keep progressing and downsize to their own liking, they're gonna
Yeah.
die. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah.
really sad, but they're gonna die. So one thing that nobody ever told me was you need to, if you're low, you need to toggle stab. I didn't know that, but I was doing 90s. Nobody told me that, because I knew so many things. Like I knew the technique of depressurizing the canopy, double fronts, to do everything so perfect, but I didn't know you had to toggle stab to save yourself. So
Right.
I did get a little, like, I scraped my knee once. It was my only like pounding in so far. Hopefully it's the only one. I scraped my knee a little bit, and I gotta how you say in English when I gotta talk like shouldn't do that, blah blah blah, and I didn't do it again. But that's the type of things where I think sometimes people assumed I knew, because I knew so many things from a young age. But I'm not born with the knowledge. I need to get the
Sure.
knowledge, and it's
Well,
fine
I
as well.
mean, you obviously carry yourself as being very worldly in the sport and having been around it your entire life, and clearly you have a lot of knowledge in regard to skydiving. So it's easy for to understand why someone would assume, oh, he must fucking know this.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
must, of course.
now I remember a period in my life between maybe 17 years old and I'd say 20 something, where I realized this. I was like, okay, people expect you to know pretty much everything, and they're not gonna tell you to not do something even if you're doing it wrong.
Sure.
So you need to go after the knowledge. Like you need to really look into everything, especially when it comes to things that can actually like endanger you. So I started skydiving, and I wanted to downsize. I wanted to try out every single canopy, and I've jumped with hundreds of different canopies, because every time I would see a new canopy, can I jump it? And even when I was a packer, it was the same. If I saw a new canopy, I was like, can I pack your parachute? It's free. I would have a chart with every size and model from PD, and I would just tick up every box, try to get every size, every model. I just loved it, and I love to pack every parachute, see how it was different, like the lines. I was like, oh, these lines are different from the other lines. It's so interesting, and I guess that's how I fell in love with rigging, which has been a big part of my life also. We never had a rigging loft up until I started skydiving. Then a little bit before we started skydiving, we bought the first swing machines, and I wanted to use them so bad, but my dad was like, nope, that's not happening. You're gonna ruin them, and you're gonna break your fingers. So I was skydiving, I was camera flying, and I was also learning how to sew with my own like plastic machine that I asked my grandma or something. I don't know who gave that machine to me. That's how I learned to sew. And so I was studying during the week, also trying to jump during the week as much as I could, while balancing school and of course bad weather during the winter. But in the summer, I would jump, and I would, of course, you're 17, you want to party, right? So I would go to parties, and I would be like, guys, I can only drink until midnight, and I can only be outside until 2 a.m. So I would not drink past midnight. Then I would, because I knew I would start work at 7, I would jump at 8. So 8 hours, I would drink until midnight. And I was pretty serious with that rule. Like I think I've slacked off that rule probably twice or three times my whole I won't say my whole life, because as you grow up you understand that it's fine. But when I was younger, especially before I was 18, I would be really serious with that. Like I would
Sure.
not drink 8 hours before, because especially you're a kid. If a kid kills themselves drunk, it's gonna be really ugly for the whole.
Oh yeah.
So I would rather die. If I die, I needed to be sober for the autopsy to be showing a clean record.
The shit
So
skydivers have to think about.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not a normal thought for a kid to have. It's a completely normal thought for a skydiver. Oh, I can die tomorrow. I just can't fucking pop positive.
Yeah, that's it. That was my thought. So I would be in parties, and I remember like girls hitting on me. Like none of my friends went to the gym, none of my friends took care of their appearance, none of my friends dressed themselves properly. So I would go, and the girls would be crazy, and I would like, nah, I have to go home. Fuck. I have to sleep because I need to work tomorrow. I need to skydive tomorrow. Because I knew like my family's like this. If you want to skydive for free, you need to work. You're not gonna show up at 10 a.m. and jump like a fun jumper and go home. No, you want to jump for free. And if, they didn't even need to tell me that. I would feel bad just showing up in the middle of the working day and jumping like the son of the DZO and going home. I hate that. I can't do
Sure,
that. So
sure.
if I'm jumping for free, I'm available for any work that you need me to do. And if there's space, I'll jump for free as well. So that's what I would do. My first year of skydiving, I did like 700 jumps. My second year, I did 900 jumps. and they were 50-50 work and training jumps. I like to I like the fun jump, but I rarely like do a jump that's for fun. Of course, I always have fun skydiving, but I
Sure.
always have a plan, and the plan always has something to do with my progression. I will never board a plane without a plan that involves me progressing and getting better.
Mm.
So this was the same. When I was younger, I would always pick the right parachute for my progression. I would go camera fly. I would take the right cameras for me to train camera flying to be better in the future, because I knew in the future I might be, I don't know, maybe I'll be hired to do camera flying, or maybe I'll be hired to fly parachutes or test parachutes or free fly or camera fly. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I would train pretty much everything and try to get experience in everything. And I would have rigs ready. Of course, I only had one rig, but I would borrow the school's rigs, and I would try to make as many jumps as possible. If I could land and jump again right away, I would. I would just try to jump as much as possible while also working, doing camera flying, and doing eventually AFF also. The rules in Portugal are a little different from the US because there was already young skydiver kids from Portugal. They were going to do tandems at a very young age, like at 16, and that's not good. You shouldn't have a 16-year-old tandem master. You shouldn't
Right.
have an 18-year-old tandem master. I know it's possible in the US. It might be possible. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's a good idea. In Portugal, you need to be 21 years old to be a tandem instructor. So either you have 3 years of skydiving experience, and if you're under 21, you need 5 years. So I started at 16, 16 plus 5 years. That was 21. That's when I did my tandem rating. And because USPA has the rules of 3 years skydiving, I did my AFF rating when I was after 3 years after I started skydiving. So I
Man,
was
I
like
mean,
19.
at at those ages to have both tandem and AFF rating, because you look very young regardless. I mean, if you had told me at the beginning of the call that you were 18, I would have believed it completely. Um, so I know myself, had I walked up for that very first tandem skydive and they introduced me to you, I would have been like, can his fucking dad come out and take me? Because that's some
Yeah.
scary shit. Have you ever found that you get blowback for being so young or looking
No,
so young?
no, no, I don't think so. I've never had that.
Amazing.
I've
I would have walked, dude.
fortunately, I haven't had that. This is because mostly for two reasons. First, I'm taller than everyone, so I'm not tall, but I'm taller than all the staff. So when you look at everybody with the same suit, the staff suit that we have, it's right here. Everybody's using the same suit, so the face is the only distinguishing factor. And also, of course, the manifest girls, which normally is my mom, they know that if you put an 80-year-old woman or a 60-year-old man with a kid doing a tandem, they're gonna be like, mm. But if you put a person like myself, like, and you get them jumping with a 19-year-old girl, they're gonna
Sure,
look at me and they're like, "This is your instructor." Of course, they're gonna be happy that it's me. They are always
sure.
happy. And a lot of my competitor friends, they make fun of me, like, "Oh, you only jump with ladies." It's not my fault. I don't pick who I jump with, you know? Like,
Well, I will admit though, I'm also at the age where I'm just getting to the age where everybody looks young. I'm eventually going to be that guy that's going to go, no, you're not really my doctor, are you? Because they're going to look too fucking young for me. So,
yeah,
but this is also one of the super cool things about our sport, right? Because I mean, I'm in skydiving terms, I'm a couple of generations before you, but if we were at the drop zone, we'd be on loads, screwing around and having fun. And age does not play a factor in my thinking towards another jumper at all, unless you're acting like an idiot.
yeah.
That's it, right? I mean, but the age has not, I don't think any of my friends are my age. They're all younger, some dramatically younger, because the sport doesn't give a fuck how old people are,
Exactly. Yeah, I agree
which is amazing.
completely.
It's
I've
amazing.
jumped with a lot of different ages. I haven't jumped many times with people younger than me, besides tandems, of course. But all my life, I hung out with people older than me, like all
Sure.
of my life. And when I'm in the drop zone and people are having drinks in the bar, I was there talking and I would input in the conversation, and people would actually like to listen to what I was saying. I wasn't just a kid; I was inputting because sometimes people want to know what I have to say because I'm there every day, and
Sure.
I knew one thing or two basically. I worked as a packer and I also worked as ground crew because I had a lot of knowledge about planes. I don't know how I got that. Of course, I know how I got that knowledge, but just loved planes. And still, like every decision that is made, and that's my job in the company currently is logistics manager, which is everything that has to do with making the company run smoothly, especially the planes. Those are the things that need someone to be with the cheapest possible maintenance within quality, right?
Sure.
You need them to be going to the maintenance in the right time, coming back in the right time. You need the right pilots. You need the right planning. So that's my job, and it's what I like to do. My passion all my life is to make things efficient. Even swooping, if you look at it, it's just making things efficient. It's just
Sure.
potential energy into kinetic energy efficiently. So all of my life, I've been obsessed with efficiency. I don't know why. And even like I'm just thinking now, even the story of the planes when I was a kid with the Legos, it was the same. It was making things efficient. Now I'm thinking about it, it's just what I like. So I guess that's why that's always been with me, and that's basically what I do now. It's why I like what I do.
Sure.
And when I was starting skydiving, I started rigging at the same time. Was parallel. Eventually, I was allowed to use the swing machines, and I did my first projects. And in Portugal, you need to be 21 to be a rigger. But again, I was trying to do as little as possible while still doing something.
Sure.
I wouldn't replace the leg strap, of course, but I would make some little things. And I had the opportunity to test jump a lot of stuff at that young age as well, because I was rigging. I was a rigger. I knew how to rig up everything. I knew how to use a swing machine, and I was learning, yes, but I had the fundamental knowledge to create small projects. When I was 16, I made my first removable slider with a system that I came up with. Turns out it was very similar to Icarus, but I had never seen an Icarus slider at the time because we jump a lot of PD in Portugal. Not anymore, because I've started jumping a lot of gyro Icarus at the time. But up until I was jumping, there was like, man, I've seen 1-2 Icarus canopies all of my life.
Sure.
It was the Petra and the JVX. That's it. I had never seen anything else. And so sliders, I would make modifications to my own rig, like small add-ons. Just I love this. I love rigging. I don't know why. I just it's like my instrument, the swing machine.
I mean, it sounds to me, because you are so oriented on detail and you are so focused on making things more efficient that kind of makes complete and total sense. The idea of rigging always was attractive to me because it reaches out to whatever part of my nature is meticulous. There's some stuff that I really like to dig into the details, so that always seemed very appealing. So I can imagine that would be absolutely perfect for you, somebody that's trying to make everything more efficient always and find a better way.
Yeah, that was basically it. Rigging just ticked a lot of boxes for myself. Made me has a skydiving part, has the engineering part, has the art also. It ticked a lot of boxes. And so I've always had rigging, and I don't think I'll ever stop rigging. When I think of my retirement, I just think of me having a little rigging loft and being a grumpy old man, just making
Sure.
That's what I want to do. It's one of the only reasons I want to live to be like 60. It's like I'm not gonna kill myself, hopefully, before. It's just because I want to be old and rig and be annoying, basically.
Yeah.
I want to be a nuanced rigger, like man. You should go to Gonçalo for that fix. And like, really, he's so annoying. I'm gonna get there and he's gonna be complaining to me saying I shouldn't have cut away because I'm a bitch. And that's what I want. I want to be like, the old rigger, like these kids these days, they cut away for any reason. They don't even. Back in my day, we had to handle a petrol like real man. That's what I want. It's my dream.
I can tell you firsthand that being a grumpy old man is just as fucking fun as you think it is.
I can imagine.
I promise you,
Yeah.
it is really nice to just have people just know, oh, Dean's gonna be a dick.
Yeah, like it's my dream is to be the 30,000 jump sky god of sorts that people are like, he's a dick, but we have to talk to him because he knows a lot of things.
Yep, yep.
That's my dream. I just want that.
So now talking about not killing yourself before you hit 60, what got you into base jumping?
Oh, well, base jumping was the same as skydiving. I just saw people were doing it like when I was growing up. The drop zone was like I could tell everybody, hey guys, the clouds are really low. You want to go for a base jump? And the one of the most like jumped bridges in Portugal is literally 5 minutes away from the drop zone that we used to work in. So the first drop zones that our company started had a bridge right across, like you could see it from the plane. And I could tell people were based. I would see people pack, and I could tell it's different. Like, wait, this is different. They're using clamps. Like, they're taking 1 hour to pack. This is not skydiving. Like, the plane is inside the hangar, but everybody's getting ready. What's going on? And the other bridges, the first bridges that existed in Portugal that were jumped are where I'm from. So in the north, all the base jumping happens is where I'm from. In the south is where the skydiving happens, is where I live now. So base jumping was parallel to skydiving. I would see everybody go do it, and I remember ever since I'm a kid, I knew how base jumping worked. Also, pilot chute in the hand means something's low. Pilot chute stowed means something's a little higher. If someone opens the parachute for you, you're learning. I knew those things. Like,
Sure.
like, okay, the parachute's really big. There's only one parachute, and you can jump buildings, antennas. You can jump from bridges. You can jump from cliffs. I knew that stuff, and I knew, okay, that's base jumping. It's really dangerous. It's different from skydiving. I didn't know about like wingsuit base jumping and mountain base jumping up until I was much older. I think up until I was maybe like 10, 12 years old. Like just because when you're before you're 10 years old, I guess you don't really you don't know about things that are happening in the world.
Sure.
You only know about what's happening now.
Sure.
And I knew skydiving existed, base jumping, and I always wanted to base jump. I loved the planning. I don't care for like the mountain base jumping. I like that. I'll do it for sure. I've done it before. It's nice, but it's not what I like. I like the planning base jump where you need to plan with everything, security, invasion, everything legal, of course. And I like that. That's what I always liked. And I love the planning. I love the months ahead. I love the feeling after a jump where you're like, I've been planning this jump since I'm like 12. Jesus Christ. And there's jumps where I'm 12 years old and I'm starting to plan the jump. I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I studied architecture. I did the bachelor's in architecture, not master's. And you need to be master in Portugal to have the full course. But I would use my architect like student license to get blueprints of a lot of buildings and a lot of monuments that I've jumped, and I'm still gonna jump. Like there's on this chest drawer or whatever. No, this
shoulder, yeah.
This shelf. No, on this shelf.
Oh, the shelf. Okay.
Shelf behind me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of documents that get you into a lot of places that you're not supposed to have, and I knew I wanted them. And yeah, with base jumping was what I did after competing. So when I started competing for free fly, I was like 16. Actually, I did FS4, but I didn't like it. Then I did camera for FS4, and up until a year ago, so I won every nationals of FS4. I could have gone to Worlds, but I just didn't really, the team didn't want to, and I would go, but they didn't want to. And free flying, I was a performer for a bunch of years. Then my teammate started flying pilots, started flying commercial planes professionally, so he had to stop skydiving. And so I wanted to do canopy piloting. I competed for 2 seasons in free fly. Then I started canopy piloting. And my mom would not sponsor any canopy piloting whatsoever. Like she was like, no, you can skydive, but I'm going to sponsor your skydiving until you are jumping a 150. If you want to go below something like that, then you're going to have to go on your own. And so if you're younger than 18 years old, regardless of what money you have, you cannot leave the country. And if I'm going to leave the country, I need to show my mom what I'm going to do, and she would have to sign it. And I would leave the country for like wind tunnel camps or something.
Sure.
Or skydiving in another drop zone just because. Okay, signature. But, you're going to go to competition. Nope. Sorry, you're not going. You can go when you're 18. Then that's what I did. First, as soon as I was 18 years old, got on a flight and went to Pink Open to compete in the Pink Open. And it was a nice competition. Had fun. My first, no way, didn't even take a weight belt. Again, this is one of the things I thank my mentor and my dad the most, is that he really slowed me down the right amount. And there's still training methods that I use that people for a long time during the comps, they were like, don't do that. That's going to hinder you. Don't do that. It's not beneficial. And people would try to give me advice during the competition. Oh, you should be doing this. And I was like, I'm not doing that because I'm learning. I'm progressing. I'm getting to there. Like, I'll do that. But now I'm not wearing a weight belt because I need to learn. And if you're 60, whatever, when I was 18, 62, 65 kilograms, you need a weight belt to swoop. But I didn't take a weight belt.
Sure.
Then I took a weight belt. Then I downsized. Then I got a mutant. No weight belt again. Like, went back to the beginning. Then I put on the weight belt. Then I got a smaller canopy. No weight belt again. So I would always take these baby steps, and like I would try to do everything as slowly as possible. And even to this day, I still like wake up slowly every time I'm doing something extreme. So if I'm competing in swooping, I'll get to the drop zone, do a full day of training with no weights, just zone accuracy, to wake up to smell the air in that drop zone.
Mm.
Then I'll do speed where I don't need to touch the water. It's simpler for me. Then
Sure.
I'll do distance where I have to touch the water. So I always try to start like as simple as possible and like go one step at a time and build my progression into it. And the only times I've trusted other people to do training programs for me, like once, it was one time in my life, I trusted my buddy Max. I was like, you want to do distance? Let's do distance. And of course, we both fucked up because we didn't start slow, you know? We went to distance right away. And I was like, everybody wants to do distance, but just build into it slowly, one jump at a time. Today we do this slowly. Tomorrow we do that slowly. The next day we do that. Everything's slow.
That's the recipe for longevity, right? I mean, let's face it, skydiving has become a relatively safe sport until you start really pushing it like you have to with canopy piloting.
Yeah.
And then you have to be fucking smart. And you're 23. So what possible rush can you be in? You literally have your entire life laid out ahead of you. And it's better to take an extra season, for fuck's sake. There's no huge rush, especially because, you know, after having spent as much time in skydiving as you have, the consequences behind pushing too fast, it doesn't make sense.
I've seen from a young age. I think I remember when I did my first season, not my first competition. My first competition was in Pink Open. It's a huge competition. There's 80 people there. So no one is going to notice you. You'll get in there, you jump and you go home and nobody cares.
Sure.
But when I did my first season of traveling around Europe, people did notice. They were like, this kid is jumping. This is a 19-year-old jumping a 62 full of weights. Like, this is serious. If he can. And I remember in Italy, people didn't really care. Denmark, all right. In France, people were like, wait a minute. This we should keep an eye on this kid. He can kill himself. Like, he's jumping the tiniest canopies, doing the fastest speeds. Like, and then of course, you can ask around how my flying is. I think my flying is pretty safe. I've never gotten the yellow card. I've never had any close calls. I've broken bones, but it was all very unexciting stories. It's like,
sure,
I'm finishing a swoop and I trip and I fall forwards and I dislocate a shoulder. Or as I'm slowing down, I sit on my ankle. I sat on my ankle, accidentally broke my ankle.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any exciting crashes or anything. Luckily, thank God. I've broken bones, but all very unenthusiastically, basically. And I feel proud of that, but at the same time, it is what it is. So
now,
yeah.
You had your mom who was telling you she would not sponsor any of your jumping if it was swooping or downsizing below 150 until you were over 18, and then you'd have to do it on your own. Did she think that was going to be a deterrent, or did she always know you were going to do that shit regardless?
No, she knew for sure I was going to do it. There was never a question in her mind I was not going to do it. What she didn't want to have was responsibility.
Sure.
Because she knew, like, if he dies and I was the one sponsoring, I'm not going to forgive myself. But if he kills himself because he wanted to do it and he did it with his own will, then it's his own, it's himself.
Sure.
I cannot stop an 18-year-old from going out of the country with his own stuff and jumping.
Sure.
And so, of course, when you're 18, you're working, you're studying. And in Portugal, we don't make a lot of money. It's not a rich country by no metric. And so I didn't have a lot of money for canopies. It was quite a pain in the ass. So my mom gave me my first canopy that she gave me. 100% of the canopy was given by her, and I swindled my way into downsizing basically. So I would replace the lines on a canopy, and I would buy a katana. I would build an RDS for the katana, replace the lines, get another canopy. Then I would have people be like, "Hey, I want to sell this canopy. Can you sell it for me? And I can give it to you. You just need to give me 600 euro." And whenever you sell it, and you can keep the profit. So I would like velocities. I would jump a little bit with them to get experience. I would I would give them away. I had a whole like downsizing program that I knew I wanted to follow. And some of canopies I needed like 200, 300 jumps. So I knew this one I need to buy. Then there was other canopies that I need only for like 50 jumps. So if I'm going from a 96 to an 84, I would do 300 jumps on a 96, 50 on a 90, and then I would keep the 84 for another 300, 400 jumps. So for instance, when I wanted a 90, I had a buddy that came to Portugal, had a 90. He said, I'm going to leave the rig here for a week and then I'll be back. can you take care of it? I'm like, sure. Do you mind if I jump it? Because I want to jump a 90 for the first time. He's like, sure, whatever. 50 jumps in a week. When he came back, he was like, dude, return that. The canopy is going to be clapped out by the time I'm back there. And like, oh, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I'm sorry you said I was 16, 17. I don't have the same sensitivity as I have now to respect people's gear. I was like, you give that to me, I'm gonna jump it, and I'm gonna jump the shit out of it.
I mean, that
But
would be my response. Motherfucker, you said I could
yeah,
jump this. I'm gonna go.
yeah, and so yeah, some of the people that I did that terrible thing to, which was one or two people, later, like in later years, they were like, man, I feel honored that I'm part of your journey, that I borrowed like this. They jump into the drops, and it's like, yeah, he learned on my canopy, and I find it to be awesome. Like
Sure.
they're proud, and there's similar stories of people that had the same opportunities as I had, even had better opportunities, I would say, because they had more sponsorship, due to complex things that I don't want to get into, but
Sure.
sponsorship that was not their money basically, and they had the opportunity just as good as mine, even better, to exceed in skydiving and competition, and they didn't because they were sleazy. They had sleazy behavior, and they were sleazy
Sure.
people. They were the type of people that would buy a canopy from my dad, and they would jump the shit out of it. They would buy it, never pay, and then my dad was like, "Hey, can you pay?" And he's like, "Oh, no, I'm sorry." And then they would return the canopy without the slider. Even that's how I made my first slider. Was a canopy that was returned without a slider. From a guy that bought it from my dad, jumped the shit out of it, and then just returned it without paying me. Like, oh, I don't want it anymore. So you can tell people with these type of behaviors, it doesn't matter how much money you give them, they're never going to be able to exceed in anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Even me jumping with them when I was older, it has happened that I was like 16 years old and they were much older than me, and they were getting in trouble for mistreating people in like wind tunnels. This has legitimately happened. So yeah, there's some people in the sport that that are really, really good and don't have the opportunity they should have.
Sure.
Portuguese people is what I mean. Some of them is because they're a little stubborn. They're really talented, but they're a little stubborn. Other people just didn't have the focus, didn't have the commitment, and just wanted the Yahoo life. I'm Yahoo. I'm 100% Yahoo, man. I love to party. I love to hang out. I love to have fun. And I think skydiving is fun, period. It's not a competition. Skydiving is fun. And there's the idiots that compete. It's not the idiots that have fun and the serious people that compete. But there's gotta be a limit to what you do. You cannot complain that you didn't get you didn't achieve what you wanted because you didn't try hard enough,
Sure.
because you were slacking off. It's like, oh, the life's not fair because I'm Portuguese and I don't get what I want. No, just you gotta go after it. And
Sure.
I've had the best opportunity in life to do what I'm doing. There's people with better opportunities than me, because they have access to better facilities or better training. However, I have what I have, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And I try my best to use the tools that I was given to exceed. Because why? If I love skydiving, why would I go and be a tennis player? It would just be a pain,
Sure.
right? If I'm a good skydiver, and I have the access to two planes that I can jump from for free.
Sure.
I just need to work. That's the
Sure.
only thing. Like, I can jump for free. I can work. I can skydive with my Petra every day of the week for free. I just need to work.
Sure.
I don't do a lot of tandems, simply because I was only a tandem master, like I said, at 21, and at 21 I already had 4,000 jumps, and most of those jumps were, all of them were solo, and most of them were doing something that was actually serious. It wasn't fucking around. So I was a good free flying coach by the time I had 4,000 jumps. I was a good canopy coach, and I was teaching wingsuit as well, and I was ringing, so I can make, and I was camera flying. I can make money without tandems. So that's what I tell my mom. If you need me to do a tandem, I'm more than happy to do a tandem. If some special famous hot chick comes, I'll do that tandem. I'm like, hey, I'm here. Hello. And I've jumped with a lot of celebrities, which is nice. Portuguese celebrities, and my friends go crazy when I show them the pictures. But it's not my thing, tandems. My thing is, I love AFF. I love to teach new people to jump, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of students. I think at my age, more than almost 1,000 AFF jumps.
Wow.
Like, it's I don't know if it's even, if that exists anywhere in the world. Probably yes, but I'm not sure.
That's a pretty intense number for that age.
1,000 at
sure.
22 years, 23 years old, 1,000 AFF jumps.
That's a lot of AFF jumps.
A little bit of AFF, right? I like
Yeah, man.
AFF. I love AFF, man. AFF is the best. I love to fight with the students. I love to dance with them. I love to do nice students. It's what I love. And I've competed, and I wanted to do base jumping like you mentioned. And at the time, I had to choose either base jumping, money to buy a rig, or a car. I love cars. The base jumping was going to give me a lot of fun, like I have base jumping. However, it's going to give me a pain in the ass for my mom. Like she's going to be on my case. I knew that. So the benefit of having a car was I could drive around anywhere. I can drive my girlfriends around, and I can go have fun with my friends, and I can tune my car. So I chose the car, and it took me a few years to make the money for the car. However, with COVID, I didn't have a license, so I had the time to make the money. It's not like I was 18 with a license ready to buy a car. No,
Sure.
I had my license. I was 21. And I was, yeah, in Portugal, this is not normal at all.
All right.
But I had a motorcycle and I had a lot of time to make money. I was happy with that. So I got my car, and then later when I was financially comfortable again, I bought my base rig and I started base jumping. And I love base jumping. Base jumping is really cool. I don't see it as something I'll do professionally ever. I like to do it for fun. However, it is something that I think I'll always do. I'll stop doing the crazy jumps when I have kids. I've decided that even before I was base jumping, even before I started base jumping, I decided when you have kids, you're gonna stop doing the crazy stupid jumps. You know the jumps. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But going to the bridge and doing a flattened stable off the bridge just because someone wants to go, that's a different type of base jumping from planning a heist that you can be arrested.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. Well, that was the big decision for me, is when base jumping kind of entered my mind when I was a young skydiver. I had just become a father. So it was, oh, that looks really cool. I'm never going to do that. I have a kid. It was a very easy decision for me, and one that I'm still happy I made, although I'm sure I would have loved it. I'm glad that I never got started.
Yeah.
You know.
You were talking a little bit about the competition and the pressure in competition a few minutes ago, and it's something that you mentioned that I actually has been my lucky charm, I guess, my whole competition career, which is my dad always told me that, and I always think about this, which is you don't need to prove anything. You're the 20-year-old kid that's swooping. The other people are sponsored with a million different sponsors, and they have dozens of competition seasons behind their backs.
Yep.
They're the ones who need to excel and beat you. It's not you that needs to beat them. So every competition round, I will never be like, I need to win this. You can put me at a 80-point advantage, first place, world championships, the last round of distance, where I just need to put down a score, or even I need to put down a monster score to win. You will not see me like, okay, I need to do this. I got this. Oh my God. If I'm low, I'm going to dig out the rears and I'm going to touch the water. I'm going to do it. No, I don't care. I can be about to win the best thing in the world. If I feel like I'm low, if I feel like I fucked up, I'm pulling out. And I'm not pulling out trying to manage myself through the course. No, I'm pulling out, not getting the score. I don't care. Even if
that's an awesome mentality.
Even when I'm older, competition is not my life. I'm not a professional swooper. I'm a professional logistics manager of a skydiving company. Sure. If I go to the World Championships and I'm last, I come home and I'm like, hey guys, I lost. And everybody's like, I'm glad you came back. Let's go back to work. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So that's something that I love about my life, is that the competitions only give me good. They don't give me anything bad, unless I break my shit, of course. If I break my shit,
of course.
But even when I had injuries in competition, all I did was like 20 days of rest. Like I've never stopped more than 20 days skydiving since I started. So even when I remember when I dislocated my elbow in Dubai, I was sad, but it was December. It was raining. I was home with a cast and had my girlfriend do everything for me. It's like, this isn't that bad. Like I'm getting drugged up daily. I have a prescription to take drugs and stay home. Like, this is awesome. I'm gonna break myself a little more often. This is great. And so like competitions have never, even the injuries I had, they were painful, but I've had worse. Like when I ruptured my eardrum when I was younger, like 16, skydiving, it was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. It was horrible. But if you break something, it's fine. Especially if you're home resting and there's no skydiving happening. It's more than fine. I loved it. I got to record videos.
It's substantially better than the alternative.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're dead, it's worth. But
Yeah,
that's
dead
the thing.
tends to
Like
stay that way.
competition, that's what I think keeps the pressure off of me, and I think keeps me safe in competition is that I I know it's not my life. It's not
Sure,
everything. I
sure,
have a lot more things
sure.
besides competition,
Now,
and it only gives me good things.
sure. Now, speaking of the other things, obviously you're a busy logistics manager and you're keeping an active drop zone running. But we haven't told everybody where the drop zone is, the name of the drop zone, and all that. So before we get too much further, give us all the information on the drop zone, and then for you yourself, how do people find you on socials and all that stuff so they can come out and jump with you, or they just want to follow what you've got going on? How do they find you?
So the drop zone that I work at is called Skydive Portugal. There's one or two drop zone in Portugal, but Skydive Portugal is the biggest one. We operate every day with no limitations to students. Like anybody can come and jump, and we have the best facilities that you can have for skydiving. Everything was built by us, and everything is recent. So everything is 2015 or recent or more recent. We have two caravans with upgraded engines, and they have the good engines. The engines were upgraded before they were upgraded by Cessna. So Textron ships the caravans now with upgraded engines, and we chose those engines even before Textron chose them. It was me that chose them. I'm really proud of it. That's why I'm bragging. Took me a while. Took me years to decide the engines. You can imagine a 13, 14-year-old kid having to decide a bunch of millions because my mom and my sister don't know nothing about planes. They know the thing spins and it flies. So we
Yeah.
have good planes. Skydive Portugal, 1 hour from Lisbon, and Lisbon is the biggest city in Portugal. So if anybody wants to come and jump all year round in nice weather, you can come to Portugal, and I will be likely here if I'm not competing. Myself, I'm on Instagram, Freak Flyer, and I post some stuff sometimes. I like to post a lot of educational things, but I'm not like I don't like to read a brochure. A lot of skydiving Instagram, YouTube teachers, whatever people that make in educational videos, they just read whatever's on the website and like how to choose a canopy. The katana is steep and is good for swooping. The saber is good for everyone. The pulse is gyro. The crossfire, the sapphire. I don't do those videos. Like I don't do videos reading the brochure of the products. I do a video where I'm talking about my own experiences and things that I've learned as I was growing up in skydiving, little hacks that little things that I learned. And I also do videos for YouTube. It's where most people started to know me. I did camera flying videos first, and now I do videos about whatever floats my boat. I guess it's not really beginner oriented because I'm not a beginner, and you can learn all that stuff on other places. Like if you want to
Sure.
learn how to pack, there's videos. If you want to learn how to how to whatever sit fly like a beginner, there's videos about that for sure.
Sure.
My content is more advanced oriented. I do a lot of like debriefs of my competitions, which is something that I wish I could watch from someone else, but no one does that. I think I'm the only person doing that. And people enjoy those things. So
Sure.
on Instagram, Skydive Portugal is the drop zone, and Freak Flyer is it's me. But go follow the drop zone, and it's more important. And if you guys need any coaching of wingsuit flying, of canopy piloting, um, of angle flying, of free flying, or I think I've said camera flying also. I coach all of those things, and it's cheap because I do it for fun. I don't need it to survive. My salary is a fixed salary. I get paid the same regardless of how many students I do because I'm just here every day, and it's not my main job. My main job is the logistics stuff. So
Sure.
we have very cheap coaching prices. We have nice normal slot prices, and we jump every day, and it's a safe drop zone, and we never had any deaths. We never have any close calls. We try to run everything safe, and we
Awesome.
hopefully it's gonna be like that for the rest of our drop zone's
Awesome.
life.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, with where you're sitting at your age, I cannot wait to see your progression throughout your time in the sport, because I have a feeling you're going to get up to a fair amount of shit. I have a feeling there's a lot of stuff still coming, and it's going to be spectacular to see it happen. And it's so cool to see from my perspective the next generations really taking up the mantle, so to speak, and going, you know, full force within the sport. And so, but between that and everything that you've already done and everything that's coming, I can't wait to see what happens.
I have a few goals. I want to have 30,000 jumps, 3,000 base jumps. I would love to be in the museum of the Hall of Fame, Skydiving Hall of Fame. I would love that when I'm much, much older, of course. And I would love to get gold medals in like World Championship in gold medal in all the disciplines that I love. So wingsuit, free fly, and canopy piloting. So one step at a time, I will walk towards that.
Well, spectacular, man. And honestly, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. And I can't wait to maybe sometime get out there and see the place for myself and come make a jump, make a fool out of myself with you.
Oh, you're more than welcome to come.
All right, brother. Man, I'm so glad we were able to set this up. Thank you so much for taking the time. Have a kick-ass day out there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.